Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the podcast Strikes Back. My name is George and you're listening to the weekly movie show with the boy Benny.
Hello.
Just you, Benny.
Yep.
Connor's gone.
He's gone forever. I've taken his seat.
Fell down a well.
I've moved up the ranks.
Head brains everywhere. It was bad. It was real bad.
Not that many brains, really.
Come on. Let's be honest with each other. Guys, it's just your boys George and Benny this week. Connor's out of action. He's been wrestling with some sickness, down with the sickness, and hey, you stuck with us this week, but you know, it's probably for the best. Got a monster show for you guys this week. Got a few details about Foxtel and Netflix buddying up in Australia. Also, some pretty tantalising news about It Chapter 2 with the runtime and a few trailers to catch up on. But as we always like to do, we catch up on what everyone's been watching. Benny.
I think I'd like you to go first, George.
I will go first. Wow, man, finally I get included. Fuck. Not like tacked on the end. Oh, guys, you want to hear what I heard?
And on to the news.
And nobody gives a fuck.
Yeah.
I'm on kind of like this 90s sci-fi tirade right now, and I watched Demolition Man.
Nice. Did you find out what the shells mean?
Huh?
Did you find out what the shells mean?
No. Yeah, I love that bit.
That's a cool movie.
It's a fucking awesome movie starring Sylvester Stallone as John...
Rambo.
No, what was his name? John...
Demolition.
Oh my God.
Oh no.
I had his name in my mind and now it's completely gone. Anyway, hopefully I'll remember later. Wesley Snipes is just so killer in it. The opening is from a film from 1993 and it opens up in like the distant future 1996. And it's like Blade Runner and the place in Los Angeles is completely cooked. I love how like this movie, it doesn't work necessarily, but it works for me and it works for... There's a lot of thought that went into the world they presented in the future, and not all of it works. Like, for example, the fact that it's only 30 years in the future and everything from the previous society is completely eroded. Yeah. But you kind of just go along with it and it's fun and it's got that slapsticky 90s vibe with some cool ideas and some interesting commentary on a few little things. I can't tell you how much I love this movie.
I feel like there's a lot of movies from that era that kind of got saddled with that, like, all of these interesting sci-fi ideas got poured into it. This amazing world got kind of built up behind the scenes, and then they chucked like a big dumb action star on it, and it just kind of got dumbed down in a lot of ways. But you can sense the kind of creativity in there somewhere.
100%.
Yeah, which is really interesting. How does it fare from an effects standpoint? Was it you said 93 it was made?
I'm pretty sure 93.
So there wouldn't have been too much CGI going on at that point.
When he gets carbon frozen at the beginning, there's some interesting sort of lightning effects.
Yeah.
But it has, 1993. Yeah, it has that very... There's not a lot... There's quite a lot of practical stuff. It's pretty well put together, though. There's quite a lot of in-camera work. One funny little thing that my wife noticed was that So Wesley Snipes, one of his eyes is blue and the other one's brown. He's heterochromatic in the film.
Cool.
And in one scene, it swaps. And then it swaps back.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's just like such a classic,
That's
man.
so great.
And you sort of it brings me comfort because I get so nervous about even like uploading the podcast. I get nervous about fucking things up.
Yeah.
And then you see someone's fuck up like that and it's like, hey, listen. It's going to be all right, man.
That's great. I never noticed shit like that.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
It's going to be so all right. So yeah, I'm working my way through the 90s, one movie at a time.
Nothing else this week?
No, that's it, man.
All right. I chucked on, for the first time in a long time, Stanley Kubrick's The Shining.
Ooh, baby.
Or The Shinning in some dialects, I believe. Like I said, I haven't watched this in ages. It's... one of those movies that has a reputation of being one of the scariest movies of all time, and I'm sure it was when it came out. I find that horror, much like comedy, doesn't really age too well in that regard in terms of the impact.
It's definitely more of a thriller by today's standard.
Yeah, or even it's just not. It's not going to keep you up at night. But it was so good to watch it again. What an amazingly well made film. And just from a horror perspective alone, there was one thing that really stood out to me, which is little Danny riding his tricycle around around the corridors. That is actually such a tense shot, just following him from behind around every corner.
Why would it? And why is that? Why does it evoke? It does for me. But why? What is it about that scene?
I think a big part of it is the foreknowledge, which even if you haven't seen the film, you know he's going to run into the twins at some point because you've seen all of The Shining, whether you know it or not, through The Simpsons and Family Guy and what have you. So I haven't seen it in so long. I couldn't remember it exactly when shit like that was going to happen. So every time he's going around a corner, I'm like,
yeah.
But
and the sound effect of his wheels going from the floor to the carpet.
Yes,
It just kind of pulls you into the scene.
Yeah. And the score and the sound design, amazing. It's such a soundscape of eerie madness that's just. Ooh, it drags you in.
I every time I've watched that, I go, hey, was it as good as I remember? And every time I might even just I just gain a little more respect for it.
Yeah.
And I enjoy it more and more every time I watch it.
Definitely my best viewing. Jack Nicholson is an interesting casting choice. He's so clearly unhinged from the very first time you see him that it's not really a surprise when he goes mad at the end. And poor Shelley Duvall, man, that woman was so clearly on the verge of a nervous breakdown for the entire film because apparently Stanley Kubrick treated her very badly on that set. Yeah. And I think a friend was telling me just recently that the scene on the staircase when she's like swinging the bat at him was shot over like weeks. So she was just in that state shooting that scene for weeks and weeks. So you can imagine how that would like she's just like shaking the entire film.
Yeah,
but
it's very convincing.
Yeah, and I definitely don't want to get into a discussion about what torture is worth for art. But man, the effect on the film was amazing. And the kid, little Danny Lloyd, I think he's brilliant. He's so good.
He didn't go on to do anything.
No, he acted in one television movie after I think, and then became a teacher. So good on him. He got out, but that all that Red Rum stuff is amazing.
I was dumbfounded the first time I saw it because I was like, that can't be that kid.
Yeah.
And it was.
When he starts screaming it at the end, oof. So a big reason I watched this was in the lead up to Dr. Sleep, which is upcoming from Mr. Flanagan, Mike Flanagan, our good friend. And it's cool. There's some interesting setup for that movie, given that it was not very strongly based on the book in the end. But everyone does call him Doc. In the movie, that's his nickname, so that kind of leads into him being called Dr. Sleep in the sequel. But man, I really hope this new one can live up to the pedigree.
I hope so, man. I just love that ending. Like it zooms in on that photo, and the date comes up, and you're like, "What the fuck is happening?"
Yeah,
and that's meant to kind of leave it to rest. So we will see. I have so much faith in Flanagan though that he'll be able to wrestle with it and make it work.
Totally. I hope we don't get any like Indiana Jones 4, like picture of Jack Nicholson on the desk or something. Like leave that part behind. That's all done. And I also watched something else, which I will tell you right now.
Oh yeah.
This was partly spurred on by Connor last week. He kept referencing this film.
Is it Peaky Blinders?
It was not Peaky Blinders. I'm still yet to work up to that one. Sorry, Connor. It's on like the top tier list. I'm saving it for a very rainy day. He loves Peaky Blinders. I watched Monty Python's The Meaning of Life.
So good.
I was scrolling Netflix and saw it there. And I'm like, I'll just chuck it on for a second. Before I knew it, hour and a half had passed. Like that is one of the most watchable films for me. I grew up on it. I had the VHS at home when I was a kid and was watching it when I was definitely not meant to be. And I can recite most of that movie. It's so funny.
That was one that I didn't grow up on, so I saw it later in life, but incredibly funny. Quite interesting ideas thrown in there as well to make it a little more poignant. But that song, the Catholic song, man.
Yeah.
That's
Every Sperm is Sacred.
That is a hoot.
So every song in that movie, it's such a brilliant soundtrack. I've just been like listening to it out and about. But yeah, it's just a very kind of topical and relevant film today, as it was in 1983, I think, when they released it, which is interesting. But yeah, if you've never kind of dipped into Monty Python, would you think that's something you could come to later in life? Like our age, or you had to be there?
I don't know. Like, I think select. Like, my Monty Python knowledge is very thin. Like, I've seen Meaning of Life, Life of Brian,
Holy Grail.
Oh, yep.
Well, that's it. That's their movies.
I never seen Fish Called Wanda.
Okay, well, yeah, it's
and a
kind
few
of
other
Python
ones.
adjacent.
I like those other ones in that realm. Like Faulty Towers is sort of top tier stuff for me, and I've worked back from there. So I haven't seen a lot of it, but it is like that absurdist British comedy that not everyone's into.
Yeah.
And if you're into that more sort of like a typical American comedy, which I'm not going to say, like, I'm not going to say American comedy is like more downplayed than British, but
We're not going to say it's dumber
Yeah.
and just kind of broader in general.
Yeah.
We're not going to say that. Yeah.
We're not. No way.
No.
But it just has that Englishness wearing it on its sleeve.
We're definitely not going to say the British office is better than the American office.
Well, I'm going to say that. I'm definitely going to say that. Fuck the American office.
Oh, God. This got him well. He's running over right now.
But yeah, just that like self-deprecating British humor is the best for me.
Yeah. I think I'm going to have to go back and watch those other ones as well now. And just very quickly, I watched the first episode of Amazon's The Boys before coming over here. The Carl Urban. I need to say Keith Urban.
Watchmen. No, I'm fucking watching him as Keith Urban. This generation's Watchmen.
Okay.
I was seeing on Facebook this morning.
Okay.
Tell me, is this accurate?
There's a lot of there's a lot of positive word for this flying around right now.
Because the trailers looked awful.
You did not like the trailers at all. I thought there was kind of promise there. Like I said, I'm only one in. I think tonally, it's a real tough balance to strike with that kind of satire parody sort of thing. Like, especially when they're being so like hard R-rated about it, it can come across as so juvenile and lame. And some of it kind of is, the costumes, all of these superheroes, they look very knockoff. They're very cheap. But there are definitely moments that really shine and give me hope for where this can go.
Okay.
It's initially kind of draining how cynical it is and how dark and how all these heroes are just the worst people in the world.
Uh-huh.
But the protagonists we're following do give me hope that this, maybe they'll do something interesting with it. And I think I'm going to keep on it for a bit.
And Carl Urban's the man.
Yeah?
Carl Urban's the man.
Carl Urban is the man.
He's
not
a man as
He's
well.
not the main man though. The lead character is so distracting. He looks so much like a cross between Bill Hader and Michael Shannon. It's really throwing me off. Those are not two people you should mix.
Bill Shannon.
Anyway, if that's it, I guess we should get on to the news.
Yes, it is.
Alrighty. Well, first up, Foxtel and Netflix are entering a deal.
So this is for our Aussie fans. And for our non-Australian fans, Foxtel is basically the cable provider in Australia.
The one.
The equivalent of Sky or whatever you have in America. I have no idea. But this is quite big news from sort of like an older format cable TV network and Netflix partnering up.
It's definitely, all of us had kind of thought Foxtel was pretty much on the way out. How can they possibly keep surviving in this market? And like even when I feel like Netflix, it has its kind of days numbered at this point. Do we know much about this deal?
Well, there's a few areas to it. What I do know is that, well, basically, I know we talked about this last week. Netflix has dropped a lot of subscribers. Foxtel's lost a lot of subscribers in Australia as well. Even my parents have moved. They've gone rid of Foxtel and picked up Netflix. They're in their 60s. And when that happened, I was like, okay, the market is really changing if the baby boomers and the Gen Xers are starting to make moves.
George, are you saying this is a desperate team up on their part?
Could be. Could very well be.
Kind of feels like that, doesn't it? Because I really think Disney Plus is going to rock the world of entertainment. Yeah,
it's like, because Disney is going to be, obviously, they've got all the Fox IP and all the Disney IP, but it's almost like a gateway for them to just get the Disney content to you. So it almost feels like the Disney stuff is a lot more IP based, whilst with Foxtel and stuff, you can throw in HBO, you can throw in all these other different providers, and it can be more of a, I don't want to say cesspool, but I'm going to say cesspool of content.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see in 3 to 5 years' time how everything kind of acclimatizes and...
Yeah, we should definitely place some steak dinners on that one.
Yeah, but so basically for this, it's the deal here is the fact that Foxtel customers will be able to access Netflix TV shows. So, it's not like, hey, I'm a Netflix subscriber, I'm paying $15 a month, and now I get all the Foxtel stuff. It's the opposite. So it's a value add for Foxtel subscribers.
Yeah.
Is that enough to tip them over the line? I don't think so.
I feel like you'd be hard pressed to find anyone out there who isn't a current Netflix subscriber or one of the people who've dropped it in the past year.
Yeah.
It would be hard to kind of bring people back to that.
Because the only reason why I'm going to pick up Foxtel again this year is the Watchmen series.
Yep.
And then once HBO Plus or whatever that comes out, I mean, what reason will there be for me to pick up Foxtel? HBO, they're like, that's their last kind of like holding on to bit of life, I feel.
I grew up watching a lot of Foxtel at someone else's house. Man, fuck Foxtel. Get rid of it.
Fuck Foxtel.
It was just like so many channels, but it was all like 3 hours of programming repeated
ads
all day. Yeah, and that it's I don't know, man. I think the world is kind of moving on.
Yep.
Speaking of moving on, we got another story on this line.
Yeah, so quite interesting. This week, the Australian government is looking at getting Netflix, YouTube, and other streaming services to increase the amount of Australian content they produce. So, by federal law, the local the local content quota on streaming services is expected to be less than 55% currently required for free-to-air television. So on free-to-air television, you have to have 55% local content, i.e. Australia.
Okay.
Now, there's no way there's 55% content on Netflix and YouTube.
No.
So they're obviously forcing their hand here, but there's no way they're going to be able to get it to 55%.
No, hell no.
And Netflix have the leverage here. So
when I first got Netflix, I was actually shocked at how much Australian stuff was on there.
Okay.
And even that being said, like it's still a very small proportion of what they've got.
It's tiny. Stan would have more, right?
They'd round the twist on there. Yes, Stan. I feel like Stan has more American TV stuff as well, though. They're gonna have to reword that because all that is going to do is limit how much other content they can put on there. Like, That doesn't make any sense. That's not going to work for anyone.
But even 15%, and in the USA, in Los Angeles, the word on the street, from what I'm hearing on the streets
of Los Angeles,
your
stomping grounds.
My hood. I pop in there once a week. They're saying that there's so many more opportunities for actors, cinematographers, just anyone creatives in this field. And I don't necessarily know if that's translating here. Like in our market, we're still plugging away at TV and, this is a very uninformed, what I'm saying here, it's quite uninformed. It's very anecdotal. But from what I'm understanding is that like what I would love to see is more of those opportunities come here to Australia to foster the talent. And then they can stay in Australia rather than all of our actors going off to the States.
Yep, that's a lot of them.
But the markets are, we've only got 25 million in Australia. So, I mean, the market's not that big. So there's a lot of complexity here. Regardless, the streaming service, this whole thing is going to be very volatile over the next 5 years.
Yeah.
So Netflix, all these guys, they're going to have, it's going to be a sharks just killing each other and the ocean's going to go red. And they're going to have to evade that and be smart.
Just a slight segue to that point. We did just recently learn that Thor 4 and Shang-Chi will be filming in New South Wales, our home state. So that's pretty
Fox
cool.
Studios.
Yep.
And we often go see movies there. It's about 10, 15 minutes away.
Yeah, so we'll pop in, we'll talk, we can powwow this Marvel.
Chriso.
Whatever you need.
What up, bro?
We can do, I can
Thor.
play Shang-Chi.
Thor 6.
Why not?
Love it.
Alrighty, continuing on the Disney train, Aladdin and Spider-Man Far From Home have crossed the $1 billion mark over the weekend, and Lion King is already $30 million off.
What?
Yeah. So that is...
Oh my God.
So the top 6 highest grossing films of this year, it's 5 Disney movies and Spider-Man, which is an MCU film, which is Disney adjacent.
Wow.
So that's the top 6. And the 7th is $200 million, $220 million below that. And that's a Chinese film.
Oh, man. I mean, for everyone complaining about these remakes from a business side of things, this is good business.
Yeah.
But when will the bubble burst?
Complain with your money.
Do you think the bubble will burst? Do you think this remake thing will self-implode? Or do you think Disney just have a good enough handle on everything? Because they're not messing it up too bad.
They're going to run out pretty soon. I mean, this year and the past couple of years, we've had Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King. We've got Little Mermaid coming up. I would say those are 4 of the biggest ones.
But we're getting Aladdin. Sorry, I don't know if I'm jumping the gun here. We're getting Aladdin, Return of Jafar potentially.
Yeah.
What if we get Lion King, Simba's Pride?
Okay, so yeah, they're definitely going to be making sequels to these. That is, I guess, a given at this point.
I mean, that makes me sad because the source material of those were direct to VHS, and they weren't great.
I guess it's interesting. They were awful. I think the reception to these movies has been pretty mixed.
Yep.
Beauty and the Beast was kind of positive mostly. Aladdin's been fairly positive as well overall, I got to say.
Yep.
But Lion King has been a lot more middling than I expected because I hated it from the get-go, from the trailers. I'm like, this looks like everything I do not want. most people were excited for it. It seemed the general consensus.
Yeah, everyone was.
But most people coming out of it seemed to be more on my end of it, like being like, yeah, that wasn't kind of as good as the original.
Or just the general public?
General audiences. I'm listening to people, yeah, and they're like,
okay.
You know, I think people coming out and saying, yeah, that wasn't as good as the original is like damning from an audience point of view. Like normally people come out, they're pretty hyped about these things, you know? So like that's not a horrible thing for them to say, but it's pretty bad on Disney's end.
I just checked so Lion King critics score, Lion King 2019, 52% on Rotten Tomatoes, 88% audience score.
Disagree.
I don't get that, but
yeah. Look, I haven't seen it, so I'm not going to comment on it.
But five movies to hit $1 billion. That's fucking big, man. Has anything else hit $1 billion this year other than those?
So Toy Story is like 80 million off. And that's it.
Well, it's all control. They've been, like, it's not a monopoly, but it's verging on. Oh no. I'm worried that, I mean, like, the quality of product is still good, but like,
is it?
I think so. Like, you know, I've had, you can go listen to our Lion King review.
So the 5 movies that have hit $1 billion, Aladdin, Captain Marvel, Endgame, Spider-Man, and what was it? Lion King's just coming up.
Yeah.
I would say 3 of them are not great.
I'd say Endgame and Spidey are good.
Yeah.
And I'd agree with you.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. I'd rather see more movies hitting smaller totals than this. Speaking of Spider-Man, anyway, this is the highest grossing Spider-Man film ever.
What the fuck?
Yeah,
this is one of my, like, I liked Far From Home. I didn't love it. Everyone seems to love it. I'm not quite across it.
Someone was just texting me now before I came, like, just completely out of the blue. I haven't seen him in ages, and they were like, Spider-Man was amazing. I'm like, fuck yeah.
Why? What is it?
I'm sorry that you didn't love it as much as the rest of the world did.
I'll just sit over here by myself.
Yeah, that is crazy though. Like, even taking inflation into account, like, Spider-Man movies have always been big, but that's huge.
Spider-Man 2 was crushing it, man, and then 3 beat that. I remember at the time that was like the kind of the first big sequel that really broke those records. So to hear that the Far From Home is now at the top of the pile, that seems strange to me.
Yeah, well, hopefully that spurs them on to just, because we haven't got a Spider-Man 3 announcement of any kind. Hopefully this spurs them on to just start cranking them out, because I want to see more and more of these.
They said 9.
While these kids are still young.
I heard 9 movies in the MCU.
Yeah. And speaking of the MCU, this is the 9th to hit $1 billion out of what, 23, 24 now?
Yeah, 23.
So that's pretty high end.
9.
5 out of the last 6.
Wow.
So out of the last 6 movies, just Ant-Man was the only one not to hit $1 billion.
Wow.
Yeah, 5 out of the last 6. They are actually just getting stronger.
It's like, and everyone's saying, when are comic book movies going to die? When are they going to die? They're not dying, man. They're only going up.
Yeah.
So strap yourself in.
Yeah.
Spider-Man 8 coming at you 2031.
Yeah, my God. All right, next up, director.
It's a relentless storm, isn't it?
It's crazy, man. I don't know about all this. Director Andy Muscietti reveals that It Chapter 2 has a runtime of 2 hours and 45 minutes. I'm so happy about this.
For everyone listening at home, I've got both my hands raised.
So do I. I keep saying this. I'm so hyped for this movie. Most anticipated movie of the year. I love the first one so much. I want this movie to be 6 hours long, but I'll settle for 2 hours and 45 minutes. When I first saw this news, I'm like, wow, that is a mammoth runtime. Like, that's up there with Endgame. Then I was like, oh wait, the first one was actually like 2 hours and 20 minutes long as well. So this isn't like that crazy a jump, which I really like. I love that there's these 2 giant halves to this story.
I saw him at Comic-Con, Andy Muscietti, speaking to the one and only Kevin Smith.
Mm-hmm.
And they talked about how the success of the first film, Warner Brothers threw a bunch of cash at him. He was like, listen, It Chapter 2, double that budget. So I think, the scope of the project probably increased. I'm not actually sure when the script was finished, whether it was finished before Chapter 1. I'd probably say it probably wasn't, because they'd want to legitimize and validate the project on the first one before, starting the script. But I guess what I'm trying to say here is that it was just interesting to hear that they're giving him more cash and that this runtime as well is increased. So the scope of this thing is broadening, and I am just unbelievably excited.
Well, you can only imagine the kind of free reign he had on this production. The first movie, it broke all kind of trailer records, then comes out very well received critically and by audiences, and became the highest grossing horror movie of all time, I think.
Yeah, it got, what was it, a $60 million budget? Let me just check this out.
God damn.
I mean, holy shit. Holy shit. $35 million budget.
Oh, wow.
700 million box office. I mean, now that is what you call movie business. That's how you do it.
That's
man.
one of the most profitable movies of all time. Easily.
35 million. Man, that did not look like a $35 million film.
No,
that looked squeaky clean.
Good looking movie, yeah. And we've also got a quote from him here. We will put out a director's cut because this time it definitely merits it. So I like to hear that he still has some restraint. Like, clearly, I feel like he would have had all the power in the world on this movie. I like to hear that he's still like, okay, we're not putting everything in for the theatrical. We're still trying to make this a movie and make it a piece with the first one, which didn't have a proper director's cut, I don't feel. They released a bunch of deleted scenes, but
No.
So that's cool. It feels like they're doing everything kind of in service of the movie being top quality.
Did you watch any of the deleted scenes? I don't think I have.
I don't think I've seen anything, honestly.
Man, I'm due for a rewatch.
Yeah.
Watch that over Christmas.
I watched it a couple months ago.
Time is now.
I can sit through that movie anytime. Such a breeze.
God damn.
Yeah. Next up, the Venice International Film Festival artistic chief has a quote here on Todd Phillip's Joker movie. It's the most surprising film we've got this year. This one's going straight to the Oscars, even though it's gritty, dark, violent. It has amazing ambition and scope. So obviously the fine print here is that Joker is getting a festival release on the festival circuits. I think it's doing Toronto as well, which we do not see with comic book movies very often.
Yep.
Apparently, Warner Brothers didn't really want to do this because it can go either way.
Mm-hmm.
It can go very bad. But Todd Phillips was just like, I know how good this movie is. We're doing it. And it seems to be bearing out. Like, I don't know if they're paying this guy or what, but
yeah. And he had Scorcese to back him up.
Yeah.
And we reported on this when you were gone in Japan.
Yes,
a couple weeks ago. We were talking about how, oh my God, my mind has just gone completely blank.
If you're going to remake Taxi Driver, why make it a Joker movie?
Exactly. So, like, has Todd Phillips just leveraged Is Todd Phillips a smart enough dude to know if I walk in the Warner Brothers office and have a script about a guy who's a little bit unhinged and he's going to go murder a bunch of people, if I throw that on the desk, I'm probably not going to get funding. Chuck in Joker with exactly the same story. I've got a winner here.
And you had this discussion, and I didn't disagree with anything you said, but it came off as very negative. Whereas I was thinking about it today, and I feel like
I think it's smart.
Well, exactly.
I
yes.
think it's impressive.
I feel like the options in our current movie system are we get the Joker version of this movie, or we don't get this movie at all.
Yes.
So if it's a great movie, if what they're saying is true, then who gives a shit?
Yeah. And Connor's definitely the most, he doesn't think this is a good idea. Yeah. I think this is an awesome idea. I think it's all there for him. And like to bring that level of sophistication, not related to any cinematic universe, something a bit more tangible. And you got Martin Scorsese helping him out with the Taxi Driver themes. Man, this is... and now this festival stuff, I think this could be a quality film.
Yeah, definitely don't want to get my hopes up because
Todd Phillips,
you know, these festival quotes, they get me going.
Oh, yeah.
And then I go see a movie, I'm like, whatever, it's fine. Yeah. But from day one, I always said, you know, the fact that they got Joaquin Phoenix on board for this, there must be something there.
Yeah,
because Joaquin is like one of the greatest living actors.
Yeah. If
not him. I mean, Day-Lewis is retired, so he could take the mantle.
Yeah. And he's very picky with his projects.
Totally, yeah. They tried to get him for Doctor Strange, couldn't do it.
Never.
But yeah, I'm very keen to see this movie, even if it is a Taxi Driver's great. Who cares?
I'm really interested not only to see the film but understand the presentation and the mindset that he was going into this thing.
And see if they'll ever try and shoehorn it in with like Matt Reeves, the Batman or something. Could be interesting.
Yeah. Or Batman v Superman. Like that, you know. Come on, where's the Snyder cut?
Man.
Where is it?
Release it.
Did you see somebody who said like got a billboard in downtown Los Angeles?
I heard about this.
And it's like got 15,000 signatures and it's like a billboard and it's like, where's the Snyder cut?
Wow. Guys, you're frothing at the mouth for the Snyder Cut. Do you really think Warner Brothers, if they had it, wouldn't be like, yes, give us money?
Yeah, it doesn't exist.
They released an extended edition of BVS, for God's sake.
It does not exist.
Yeah. All right. Next up in sort of bittersweet news, George Miller reveals that he's finally hopeful that he can move forward with his Mad Max Fury Road sequels. We've got a quote here. There are 2 stories, both involving Mad Max and also a Furiosa story. We're still solving, we've still got to play out the Warners thing. It seems to be pretty clear that it's going to happen. So for anyone who doesn't know, there's a lot of litigation involved post Mad Max Fury Road. Something to do with bonuses that were promised if they came in under budget, which they didn't, but they argued that it was all Warner's fault that they didn't. This stuff is clearly long running. This is years ago.
Yeah.
It's $7 million worth of bonuses, as if you wouldn't just fucking throw it at them. But they're still in courts at this point. But supposedly Miller has a much improved relationship with the studio right now.
Okay.
So he's very optimistic that they can go forward
He's
with
been
this.
back and forth, like DC falling through back in the day. This would be a pretty tense relationship.
Now, I hate to say this, but my first thought is, of course, how long is it going to take them to do this? How long does George Miller have as a working director?
How old is he? He must be in his late 60s?
75, I think. I looked at. He looks amazing. I looked him up today. He looks like he's in his 50s.
He's in good nick.
It's crazy. He looks so good. The photo on Wikipedia was him from 2017, but unless he's taken a serious turn in the past 2 years, he's looking good.
My dad always told me, man, like the day you retire and you start sitting in front of the TV and letting your brain go to mush, that's when it's all over. Dude, because he's working, because he's thinking, he's using those neurons.
Yep. And actually, I have a quote here from Steve Soderbergh, because
Soderbergh?
Mad Max Fury Road is in contention for my favorite movie of all time.
Okay.
I think it is one of the most amazing pieces of cinema, one of the most well-constructed movies ever put together. And Soderbergh, I just found this in the comments for this article, has this quote about Mad Max Fury Road that I thought was really interesting and kind of eloquent about how I feel. He said, "The ability to stage well is a skill and a talent that I value above almost everything else. And I say that because there are people who do it better than I'll ever be able to do it after 40 years of active study. I just watched Fury Road again last week, and I tell you, I couldn't direct 30 seconds of that. I'd put a gun in my mouth. I don't understand how George does that. I really don't. And it's my job to understand it. I don't understand 2 things. I don't understand how they're not still shooting that film, and I don't understand how hundreds of people aren't dead." And I think that's beautiful because, as we all know, that movie was like 99% practical shooting. It just cars riding through the desert
in Namibia
with people on sticks flying around, fire everywhere, shooting out of guitars.
Yeah.
And as far as I'm aware, they didn't lose any stunt people on that set, which happens more often than you'd think elsewhere in more presumably.
Deadpool 2.
Yeah, unfortunately, one of the Transformers movies. And I completely agree. I hate to be like ageist, but George Miller, it's hard to imagine how a person in their prime, they're like absolute young, sharpest. I couldn't imagine at my age being able to control something like that. But George Miller, man in his 70s, has the most rock and roll production ever, just on the lock. And
the effortlessness of it.
It certainly seems like it.
And you can tell it was agonizing behind the scene. You're on location. It's hot as fuck. You have so many people and things to coordinate. Like an 8-hour day can go like that. So it's impressive. I completely agree with Soderbergh. And to hear from a guy so accomplished as him, I mean, that's a testament to how amazing that project is and that film is.
Totally. So now to the crux of it, do you want to see a sequel to Mad Max at all?
If the story's vital and if George Miller believes in it, I believe in it. I know that sounds like a bit of a bullshit answer, but I didn't think there was another story in there and then Fury Road came. I'm not like a Mad Max purist or anything.
Yeah.
But I just thought like, all right, we've had RoboCop, we've had Total Recall, we've had, all these remakes, Nightmare on Elm Street, probably a different sort of category or genre, but we're recycling all these old 80s properties.
Yeah.
All right, now here comes Mad Max, and then to have such a piece of art come out and something that everyone respects at that level, I think like, how can you top that? Should you try and top it? Do we want to see more? There's a lot of complexity here.
Totally.
But if he believes in it, I believe in it.
I mean, to have a director who was like trailblazing in the 70s come out and make something so propulsive and new feeling all those decades later, is it worth trying that again? I am absolutely willing to see him give it a go because he's an amazing director and he just hasn't made that many movies.
No.
So he really likes to take his time with this stuff, and that's great. It clearly bears results. But there is that part of my mind that's like Mad Max Fury Road. Nothing could ever top that for me.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite movies ever.
Kingsman 2. Like,
do not evoke that name.
Do you know what I mean? Like, if we see another kind of chase scene in the desert,
That's the thing, yeah.
like, I've seen it. I've seen it at the best it can be presented.
Yeah. But what gives me a lot of hope is the first 3 Mad Max films are very different. In every single way. Like, they don't seem to take place in the same continuity in a lot of ways, and the 4th one definitely doesn't.
Yeah.
And then on a broader scale, he went off to make like Babe and Happy Feet after that. Like, this guy, he's got a lot of different avenues he can go down, clearly.
He is complex, and he's got a lot of layers to him.
Yeah. So
and he's Aussie.
That's the main thing.
That's the main thing.
It's truth. So I'm perfectly willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. I will be there day one for whatever he pumps out. Hopefully we get those 3 movies eventually.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. And finally here we go for the first pictures from Netflix and Martin Scorsese's The Irishman.
Ooh-wee.
Yeah. Not too much to report on here, but this has been a very under wraps production at this point, and a very large scale production. It was like $200 million or something. It's crazy.
Big dollars, man.
I think about $140 million is probably on de-aging
I've
technology.
heard the VFX budget is monstrous on this.
Yeah, well, when you're taking like, 4 or 5 100-year-old men and trying to make them younger. Fuck. So
Pesci, man, that's gonna be tough. I reckon by the end he's gonna look like Cats. Like the trailer last week. It's like, how cool.
I would watch the shit out of that.
His face gonna be moving around. Like, whoa, dude.
Yeah, man. De-aging is so sketchy. Even at its best, it's still not 100%. And we're talking about situations where they've used it very sparingly. What's probably the biggest example maybe is Jeff Bridges in Tron. That's a long time ago, and we've come a long way from there, but my God, that was distracting.
That was terrible.
And we'll be talking about a trailer a little later on featuring Will Smith. Now, it's a different thing. That's a full CGI creation, not de-aging specifically, but yeah, I still don't think
and that kind of works in the narrative of that film.
Mm.
Like you can kind of same with Tron. You can say, oh, he was artificial.
Absolutely.
There's a little
that was their out. Yeah, but this is like a gangster film. This is a period piece, a Scorsese movie. It's not going to fly if there's any kind of that greasy
blemish
washed over. Yeah. It's a tough gig. Now, these images themselves, I'm not sensing too much de-aging going on here. It looks just more like makeup.
Yeah.
And part of the de-aging process on De Niro seems to be 4-inch platform heels. Have you seen that other photo?
No.
Oh my God. I think our friends at the Geek of Oz posted it today. It's just a set photo of De Niro and Pacino. Pacino's got his like toes together. It looks very strange. And De Niro has legit 4-inch like platform shoes on.
I'll have to track that down.
I guess to match the real life figure he's playing.
Okay.
But it looks absolutely ridiculous.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, listen, is that so their eye lines is that like part of the character or?
It must be because he looks a lot taller than Al Pacino's character at that point. He was playing Jimmy Hoffa. I didn't realize. So I'm pretty skeptical about this project, to be honest. It feels like a lot of old men maybe reaching a little beyond their grasp. It reminds me of Spielberg doing Ready Player One or something, which the results of that did not work for us on any level.
I hope that the prospect of this combination of actors on screen, like brilliantly flowing off each other, is so tantalizing, and then to potentially add on top their shitty de-aging, it's just going to be unbelievably distracting. So hopefully they can iron out those technical things.
Yeah,
and I know Scorsese will produce a quality film. I missed his last one though, the Japanese one, the one set in Japan with Andrew Garfield with the missionaries.
Oh yes, Silence.
Was that any good?
I didn't see it. I heard good things.
Okay.
It looked hella depressing.
Yeah.
I couldn't really bring myself to go into that one. But yeah, I heard it was great. So he's still capable of it, definitely.
No doubt.
How'd you feel about Hugo? Did you see Hugo?
Yeah,
that was kind of his big like Oscar-winning resurgence film. I didn't like that movie very much.
It was kind of like cold and sterile in a strange way.
I feel like if you were into like the birth of cinema, like all those very early films, like you'd probably get a lot out of it, use a lot of those techniques and stuff, but left me kind of cold, unfortunately.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, what time is it?
It's trailer time.
That is the time. Very good.
You gonna take this week, bro?
Yeah, why not? Why the heck not?
Hell yeah.
Sorry, Connor. This
See
is
you,
the
Connor.
chair for trailer time. First up, we have Zombieland Double Tap. Zombieland 2, 10 years later.
If this trailer came out in 2013, I would have been so pumped. Comes out in 2019, and I'm kind of sitting there going, I wonder, because there's a bit at the beginning where they're kind of doing slow mo and they're in the field and they're it's like, oh, Jesse Eisenberg's got a gun and he's killing zombies. It's like, no, it's not funny anymore. The joke's over.
No.
It's done.
Yeah, we already had the entire zombie genre resurgence that lasted years and years and years. What else are you going to do with it at this point?
I'm struggling to see where this is going to work and
how
and why did it need to get made and what's the vitality of this
and why
project?
it took 10 years. Like, do they have a great idea? Is that why we're getting a 10-year later sequel?
And there's that bit at the end where the doubles come out.
Yeah, Luke Wilson and Thomas Middleditch.
And I'm like, you played your best hand. You played the best part of that trailer.
Is that the best hand?
That was the best hand of that
the
trailer.
joke they ripped off from Shaun of the Dead?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I will say I do love the casting of Thomas Middleditch as Jesse Eisenberg's
The
character.
same fuzzy hair.
Less than the obvious Michael Cera comparison.
Yeah.
I thought that
Michael
was
Cera's
good.
like, I'm done with that shit.
No more.
Where are you sitting on this, man? I've been pretty cynical.
Yeah, I don't know. I loved Zombieland when it came out. I don't think I've seen it since 2009.
Me neither. And I don't really want to.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat, eh? It's like, ooh, does it hold
Leave
up
it,
at all?
leave it.
Like, would it be all that entertaining anymore?
It was like the time my dad sat me down to watch Caddyshack.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, this is the funniest comedy ever, bro. That's my dad. He talks to me. He says bro to me.
Of course, yeah.
And it was so unfunny that we switched it off like midway through.
But that was heartbreaking for him.
Yeah, it was like more him making that decision.
Yeah.
I'm like, let's
I'm
roll
sorry,
the punches.
son.
Yeah. So I feel as though, like, leave it in the past. As you said earlier, horror comedy, they age very badly, or they tend to.
So horror comedies, forget about
Yeah.
it. That being said, I feel like in a vacuum, you could chuck this on right after the first one. Everyone's aged so well. I'm not sure you'd really notice that much time had passed.
Yeah.
I kind of couldn't believe it. Like Abigail Breslin, obviously, is like an adult now.
Yeah.
But so kind of looks like a kid. So I don't know. It's funny. Ruben Fleischer's back directing. He's very hit and miss, that guy. Venom, Gangster Squad. I thought he did a really good job with the first one. Just again, that movie really impressed me when it first came out. I just haven't gone back. So very hard to say what they're going to do with it. It really doesn't look like they're doing anything different from the first one.
That's what I thought, man. I really struggled to understand where this movie's going and what is it presenting differently.
And I went to the Wikipedia page and saw the cast list, which if true means they're repeating a big joke from the first one.
Okay, that's sad.
Yeah, I don't really know what they're going for here, but I'll give it a go.
You'll give it a go.
I'll give it a go.
You tell me.
I'll let you know.
You
Yeah,
tell me.
I'll tell you if it's worth a go. All right, next up, we already mentioned this one, Gemini Man, starring Will Smith, directed by Ang Lee.
William Smith
and William Smith. Some kind of clone story, perhaps. I don't know. I don't know anything about the
I
original.
love how
source
Will
material.
Smith really... I feel like he likes sci-fi a lot and he likes playing around in that. And I appreciate that him as an actor or a movie star.
Burn.
Burn. Sorry, Will. Such a subtle fuck you, isn't it? Honestly, if any of these actors heard our podcast, there's no way there's no entry. This is the most honest movie podcast out.
Yeah.
I'm really liking this.
Okay.
I don't think it's all there, but there's something in here where I'm like, I wonder what's going on. There's something, there's like a hook. It's kind of got me. And I like how they've done, as you said earlier, Will Smith, real Will Smith and CG Will Smith. And it somehow seems to make it work. Is that working for you?
Not entirely, no.
Okay.
So, as we said before, he's a full-on CGI creation, the younger Will Smith. It's not a de-aging thing. It's not like they've deep-faked him or anything. It's just a full-on CGI character like Gollum. And I think it shows. I think he still looks a little rubbery. It's an outstanding, amazing effect. Look at how many polygons they have. But it's like every shot of him, he's crying his eyes out, and I feel like that's trying to distract you. Like that's an acting trick. Like, oh, he's crying so much, he's emoting, he's human.
Do you reckon that's the visual effects supervisors have said?
Yeah, just like up it by 120%. Just waterfalls coming out of his eyes. Like, oh, it's so realistic. Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't really impressed by the action choreography. It looks nuts.
The bike bit?
The motorcycle foo. We haven't seen any of that in a while.
Let's do it.
Yeah. It looks like it's a pretty balls-to-the-wall action movie. That we haven't seen anything like that.
I heard there's some interesting reveals. And, you know, there seems to be something at play with the unreliable narrator here. You know, who fucked over who's the real clone.
It's kind of reminding me of The Island, which is probably why you're digging it.
Yeah, fuck, I love that movie.
Yeah.
I love the first half of that movie. I love the first 40 minutes of that movie.
Okay. I'm not seeing anything in Australia that indicates it's not going to be pretty boilerplate. Like there's a character who thinks he knows his place in the world, and then it all gets shaken up, and then it's actually a different way. And
I hope it does something similar to I Am Mother, where it's sort of, you know, sort of iterated on the expectations, which I thought that movie did really, really effectively.
Totally, yeah.
So hopefully we see something like that.
Hopefully we're not seeing the whole movie in this trailer. Yes, Ang Lee, I think his last movie was Billy Lynn's Long Halftime Walk. I don't know if you heard about this.
Wasn't it Life of Pi?
No, I don't think we really got this movie in Australia too much. It was HFR, High Frame Rate, which...
Oh, God. That horrible little 6-month project.
Horrible. And
Did you ever see a HDR movie?
No, I've only seen it on TVs.
And that's the frame blending thing. That's smooth.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks horrible, doesn't it?
Yeah. Never saw any of the Hobbit movies. But the response to that was just unanimously negative. Like, everyone hated it. So I can't believe he kind of kept doing it after that. But that movie looked awful. So I don't know about Ang Lee. I'm very back and forth on that guy. I'm one of the people who actually doesn't mind his Hulk.
Yeah, me neither.
But
I mind the CG.
We are few. I think that ILM Hulk looks pretty damn good.
Really?
I think it looks a lot better than the Incredible Hulk. A lot better.
I still need to watch that before our MCU rankings.
And it's like 6 movies beforehand. You do.
Yeah.
And I pity you.
Yeah. I'm actually kind of excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, sneak peek, guys. We've got an MCU rankings episode coming up.
It's going to be massive.
It's going to be 23 films in length.
All right. Next up, we have Taika Waititi's Jojo Rabbit, also known as his imaginary Hitler movie.
Getting some Wes Anderson vibes here.
So much. How much does it look like Moonrise Kingdom?
I know.
Which is good. It's a great movie.
Yeah.
No.
I'm not sure if Waititi's accent's 100% there.
Oh, man, no.
But that kind of works.
Totally, yeah.
It's kind of got that no fucks given. It's like a Kiwi, you know, portraying, you know,
something.
One of the most, you know, horrible human beings to ever exist.
Yeah, I'm hoping it turns out that his imaginary Hitler is just some guy who wandered into the camp or something, and that might explain it away. But yeah,
it's only a minute trailer, so there's not much in here.
Not at all, no. I feel, and I hate to say it, I feel like I'm a lot cooler on Taika than everyone else. Who, like, man, when he exploded. Yeah. People fucking froth him so much.
Hunt for the Wilder People.
Hunt for the Wilder People, I liked a lot.
I
got onto him with
What
We Do in the Shadows. Which really blew me away. I saw that movie knowing nothing about it, and nothing has kind of captured my enthusiasm as much as that since. So unfortunately, when everyone's coming out being like, whoa, I'm just like, yeah. But Wilder People was very good, and I've really come around on Ragnarok a lot more. I like that a lot. But like you said, this looks so much like Moonrise Kingdom that it's kind of a bit worrying because, man, I love Moonrise Kingdom.
But he has a bit of that Wes like in Hunt for the Wilder People, he had that sort of quaint, magical, Wes Anderson-y, neat dollhouse kind of vibe.
Yeah, and they seem to cover a lot of the same area.
Yeah.
But
hopefully the satire here is interesting and it has a unique angle.
Yeah, because I cannot tell what they're going for here. Like Hitler just shows up at the end. It's like, all right, Hitler's here.
Yeah.
That's a big swing.
Hitler with a bit of with Kiwi inflections.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this is new. Hopefully it's got its own voice and has something to say. Because if it doesn't have something to say, this is going to be a pretty. It's not going to be a very fulfilling exercise, I think.
Yeah.
Because if it's just that for 2 hours, you lost me.
Yeah. That being said, I'm getting more and more excited for Thor: Love and Thunder.
Yeah,
Like, there's so many possibilities for what they can do with that.
man.
It's probably the most excited I'm going to be. The more we learn about it, I'll be more and more like, okay.
And then when the movie comes, you'll be like, oh, fuck.
And then 2 years later, I'll be like, yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Next up, we have one I'm very excited for: Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, specifically the Jangly Man trailer.
This is the best trailer for this yet.
This
Because the
is
last
very
one,
cool.
I thought they played their cards to, like, whatever that expression is, they played their hand. And in this one, they've shown you a lot, but they still get the sequences not fully formed. I cannot tell you how excited I am for this.
Yeah, it just looks so cool. Jangly Man is an original creator made for this film, apparently.
Oh, okay.
Not taken from the pages of the book series.
Right.
And I think they've fucking nailed it. I don't know if they got the illustrator on board for this or something, but I've just looking at stills of its face, I'm like, that is fucking creepy. That is good shit.
Yeah.
I am so keen for this film.
The design of the creatures. There's this one bit where this creature's in the car, in a door frame. Or a corridor or something.
The large with the black hair. Yeah, that's the one that really gets me, man. When I was reading about this film initially, looking up the illustrations, that big blob lady thing just in that fluorescent hallway. Oh, wow. So creepy. And they've nailed it. Every single one of these creatures looks exactly like it does in the book. It's crazy.
I cannot. I like the last trailer, man. I was a little bit bummed out. I was a little bit like, oh, this is good. And this one is just reignited this flame. When is this coming out? Do we have?
I'm gonna say around Halloween, but I do not know that for sure.
Cool.
So many cool horror movies to look forward to. I gotta say that my one eye roll moment was the old, just, man, every trailer's got to have this where someone says the line and says the opposite. It's like, you don't read the book reads you.
Yeah,
I'm like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, cannot wait for that one.
The book is sent to you.
Next up, another spooky one: Tigers Are Not Afraid.
Man, when I was reading the notes this week, I'm sort of going through the trailers and like, tigers are not afraid. And my Connor hat, I put my Connor hat on. I was like, fuck Ben with his artsy fucking indie bullshit.
Yeah.
I watched this trailer, man. This is my favorite one this week.
Fuck yeah, I knew it, man. I watched it for the first time just before coming over here, and I'm like, I love that. George is gonna love that.
Dude. It's like the orphanage mixed with Pan's
Labyrinth, 100%.
Man.
And with a Guillermo del Toro quote saying how good it is to boot.
Yeah. With Spanish. It's in Spanish.
Yeah.
I think that's Spanish.
Yeah, it looks so hard to pin down. It looks so imaginative. Like,
this is very unique.
It really does look like there's some kind of very clear horror elements, but then it just looks like this crazy indie fairy tale wackiness that I'm so excited to see what this movie is.
I can't wait for this, man. I'm so glad you brought this to my attention because, like, I was not across this at all. We haven't talked about it. We talked about Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. We've been talking about that pre-trailer. This one has not been on our radar.
No, I only heard about it today. I think it's existed for a while.
Okay.
Months and months, and it's just been picked up by Shudder.
Right. Yeah.
It's a Shudder exclusive. Once again, I just want to put this out into the ether. Australian Shudder, come to us, please.
We'll help and do something, you know.
We'll do anything.
We'll watch it.
We'll promote it if you want. If you want us to shut up about it, we'll do that too. If you want us to stay well away. I'm a day one subscriber for that stuff.
I need this.
Yeah.
This is by far my favorite this week.
Yeah. And possibly the only other contender for favorite this week is the next trailer.
Yeah.
Fred Durst's The Fanatic.
Keep on rolling, baby.
Yeah. So Fred Durst, lead singer of
Limp Bizkit.
Who
I've got a real soft spot for that band because Wes Borland, the guitarist, is actually unbelievably talented.
Okay.
And very musical. And if you listen to his solo stuff, sorry, it's turning into a Limp Bizkit podcast. If you listen to his solo stuff, Black Light Burns, he's got much more of a Trent Reznor, Nine Inch Nails vibe.
Cool. And yes, of a
yeah. So you listen to the guitar riffs and they're kind of technical, or they've got like a musicality and they're not typical nu metal riffs. And then you add Fred Durst on top, and obviously it mellows everything out, and it becomes Limp Bizkit. But they are a very impressive band, and they get a lot of shit.
That's cool, man. Our SEO just shot through the roof with positive Limp Bizkit comments.
I wonder
There's not a lot of those on the internet.
Yeah, there's not. There's not. But there's a new metal revival right now, so hey, it's all good.
All right. Anyway, on to the movie. Apparently, Fred Durst watched 1 Hour Photo and was like, I can fucking do that.
So, Emily, this is based off a Bollywood movie from
Okay.
2016.
Cool.
I'm liking the look of John Travolta.
Man.
I like it's different. Like
It's very... They fucking swung.
he needs some
man.
dollars.
That haircut.
Yeah.
My first
I'm into
introduction
it.
to this movie was that haircut on
I'm
a poster.
into
I'm
it.
like, I'm watching whatever this is. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's committing. Travolta is definitely committing.
And
in
he
this.
needs some dollars in the bank, it seems.
No doubt. It's funny how guys like Nick Cage, who is kind of a laughingstock in a lot of ways, still has a lot of really interesting hits and movies coming out that he gets praised for and people love. Travolta doesn't seem to have much of that going on. He seems to be like a lot of DTV.
Yeah. Lots of direct-to-DVD style kind of shit.
Yeah.
I remember hearing, I think it was Forrest Whitaker talking about how everyone thinks like you're in The Last King of Scotland and that's, you're good.
Yeah, once you're a name and a face.
And the phone doesn't start ringing and then it rings and it's like some shitty little gangster movie. Hey, listen, I've got nothing planned. I'm going to take it.
Totally.
And that's just the hustle.
It's a job. I'm not proud of everything I do at work, I'll tell you what.
So it is what it is, but this is an interesting case study to see if Fred Durst can actually make a film.
If the trailer is any indication, no, he can't. And I mean the cutting of the trailer. It is insane. It's such a 90s like erotic thriller or something. It's with like the weird like color flashes and shit. It's so weird.
Yeah.
Hopefully the movie is a bit better than that, but goddamn, just check out this trailer if you have not, because it's something to watch.
Yeah, it's something. And go listen to some Limp Bizkit. Bring back the 90s. Yeah. Hey, let's finish up with the question of the week. Now, we're going to do something a bit different this week. I want to ask you a question. Is there a movie that's been on your radar for a long time that you've wanted to watch and you haven't gotten around to it? And maybe it'll be a bunch of movies.
So one that immediately comes to mind, if I may jump in, is a movie I'm going to watch directly after this. Apocalypse Now.
Ah.
Never seen it.
What?
Never seen it.
Wow, dude.
Yeah, and this is actually a very perfect example because what I've done for the last 5 years or so is I've just stopped watching, kind of seeking out all these classic films that you must see, in quotes, because I find the only way to do it is to wait until it comes to a cinema.
Yeah.
And watch it as a new film to you, as a new release film on a big screen. I just can't imagine that sitting at home chucking on a DVD of Apocalypse Now is going to have any kind of impact, especially not compared to what it did when it was initially released. So the fact that I'm going to get to watch this now for the first time on a giant screen, I'm very excited.
Yeah. No, you're 100% correct, man. Like I've seen that in the cinema and I've seen it on the Blu-rays and the VHS and did it in high school. And that's one to see on the big canvas.
Yeah. And, with all of these amazing, great classic directors, Kubrick and Coppola and whatnot, they're not making any more movies. So I'm not in any rush to get through them.
Yeah.
Savor it. I really want to optimize the way I watch it. So, yeah, yourself?
Sorry, just one thing. Is that director's cut or original?
It is the...
or is it a remaster? Or?
What is it? It's a special cut. It's the final. It's shorter than the director's cut, I think, but longer than the theatrical.
Okay,
It's
cool.
like the final cut.
Because the director's one's quite different, I believe.
Okay.
I've never seen it.
Yeah, this one removes quite a lot, I think, from that.
Check out how young Martin
Sheen?
No, Morpheus.
Oh,
Sam,
shit. Lawrence Fishburne.
Lawrence Fishburne.
He was 15 years old in this movie. He lied about his age.
Bro, it's insane.
Yeah.
It's mind-blowing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He's super cute as well.
To see one of the most barrel-chested, thick dudes in the industry. It's like a skinny little kid, yeah.
And he doesn't have all his acne scarring either.
Yeah.
He's like very fresh-faced.
What happened, Lawrence?
One we talked about, I'm working through all these 90s movies, so there's a lot of John Carpenter.
Yep.
Escape from New York is on my list right now, but one that I've wanted to watch for a long time, and I'm trying to find the best way to watch it, is Doctor Strangelove. Never seen it.
Now I watched that on the big screen last year.
Oh, okay.
Now that is a movie that I think holds up spectacularly well. And I would say one of the only examples of a comedy that I've ever watched so late in the game that has.
I remember you mentioned that.
I find it hilarious. It's this just really amazing mix of like sharp satire and like silly slapstick.
Okay.
That really works for me.
Yeah.
And maybe that's kind of, I like vaudeville stuff as well. Like a much older comedy holds up well for me for some reason. I like Three Stooges and Marx Brothers and whatever.
Yeah.
But this movie, it is so fucking good because on paper, you look at the script and take away a few of the really silly names of characters and stuff. And also, it is based on a book that is like a really solid kind of thriller story. And Kubrick just took this and turned it into a farce. And it's amazing, yeah. I don't know, your mileage might vary. I feel like your kind of areas of interest maybe don't align directly with this, but I would highly recommend seeing it.
And seeing it in the cinema, or do you think
I would say that for every movie.
Okay.
So yeah, without exception.
Yeah.
But probably not the highest priority for this one, yeah.
Yeah. I just feel like the itch is, I need to scratch that itch, man. So I might even watch it this weekend. I don't know.
Well, at our local cinema, we're actually doing right now an Alfred Hitchcock retrospective. Nice. Every film the man ever directed, from the 20s to like the 70s or something.
God, I'd love to see Psycho on the big screen because that is, I've never seen that on the big screen. That's one of my favorite movies.
First time I saw it on the big screen.
Oh, fuck you.
And yes, man, that movie has every ounce of punch it ever had when you see it that way, I got to say.
Have you seen the remake? Because a lot of people have been talking about the remake in conjunction with The Lion King.
Oh, that's a good point.
And how it was shot for shot.
Yeah, starring Vince Vaughn. Very strange experiment.
Bizarre.
I haven't watched it, no.
I've only watched a retrospective YouTube analysis on it, but they put up frames next to each other. It's fascinating, man. I don't ever want to watch it, but it's really, really interesting how these projects kind of materialize and where they all come from.
I hate that they've done that with The Lion King.
Yeah.
I'm so upset about it.
Yeah.
I actually, just off topic, but I went in and popped my head into a few scenes here and there.
Yeah.
I want to get this out of my system now because Connor's never going to let me rubbish on this film because I haven't watched it and I'm not going to now.
Yeah.
But I was watching the confrontation at the end between Scar and Simba.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh my God, this is so flat. Like, there's just, like, I'm beating a dead horse at this point, given all the critic reviews, but it is just so expressionless, these animals. I could not believe that I was coming out of this saying, Matthew Broderick did a better job than Donald Glover.
Yeah.
It blew my mind. I was like, this is just, there's nothing happening here. And a lot of that is comparison to the original, which is one of those movies I can recite beginning to end. But whatever, they made the choice to remake the movie shot for shot pretty much. So they're inviting those comparisons.
Have you seen somebody's made the live action ones more cartoony, like still frames?
No.
So Scar, Simba, it's amazing, man. It's amazing. Like you have little Simba there, just like as a fucking lion, and then you have him with his eyes open, filled with life, expression.
I don't feel like Jungle Book had this issue. I feel like they were more expressive.
Because I think you had that, this audience surrogate was Mowgli. And I think just having that grounding gave them liberties to kind of expand, like make all these animals work a bit better.
Yeah, but do you...
And like, because he can express...
Yeah.
They kind of inform the animal in a way.
Were they doing the same photorealistic thing with them though? I swear they were just more expressive in that movie.
They might have been. I'm pretty sure they were photorealistic though.
Yeah. Maybe I'm confusing it as well with Mowgli because that had very weird human faces on the animals. But I just couldn't believe. Like I saw another scene with Zazu in it, and he's just this dumb looking bird, like shaking his head around. I'm like,
do you mean the bit when he's talking the Scar at the beginning? Is that the bit you saw?
No, I was talking a bit faster, I think.
Because his eyes are open just like a bird.
It's just a bird. And a bird cannot emote. It doesn't have lips. It's like...
And John Oliver's talking and I'm like, it feels like an inanimate voice. It feels like a voice of... it's coming out of the speakers. It doesn't feel like it's coming from that character.
Yeah. It just feels like a crazy misstep to me. And, maybe some audiences are liking it a lot more than myself, but... I'm shocked that a movie of this scale, this production, Jon Favreau, Disney, has taken it in this direction that I feel like a lot more people than they would have anticipated and more people than with the previous remakes are reacting to quite negatively.
Do you think Jon Favreau, though, had any choice in this direction? Like, I feel like Jon Favreau is just kind of like, listen, we need somebody to slap their name as directed by.
Yeah,
I guess. Like, the visual effects supervisor would have directed most of this, I feel.
I don't know.
There's so much of it that's like original. Okay, Rafiki cracks the thing. Exactly the same shot. Something like, where did Jon Favreau actually get involved here?
Yeah, I mean, I can hear the goddamn movie all day in my office, and it sounds exactly the same. It's just beat for beat. I'm like, it's such a solace.
You know what's one thing shat me, and this is the last thing I'll say on that fucking movie.
Yeah.
Probably not. Let's not kid ourselves.
Yeah.
Is Can You Feel the Love Tonight?
I hate the rendition of that.
It's fucking afternoon.
I know. Yes, I've heard this in a lot of reviews.
It's called Can You Feel the Love? Because I didn't mention this on our review.
They should have
And
changed.
I'm really angry I didn't.
They should have changed it to "Will You Feel the Love Tonight?"
Possibly in like
But yes,
an hour
it's
or
like,
3 hours time.
What were they focusing on? Obviously, the visual effects, because they weren't paying attention to the song in the scene.
But can't you just like make it darker? Can't you make it nighttime?
yeah,
Like
why,
get some Avatar like neon plants and shit.
when so many other parts of the movie are so identical to the original, why would you change something for by far the worst? That feels like such a little just indication of how the rest of the movie went as well.
And one final thing is like Beyonce is a total talent, but the way she sings is not good for this, and it doesn't work for me. Like with all the runs she does,
Feels
like
very
she's
pop
so
starry.
talented. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well, that's question of the week for you. I like these little like conversations and how it kind of goes places at the end.
I guess that movie counts as the opposite of what the question was. Movies I haven't
Yes.
seen that I'm not going
Never
to
going to
see.
see. Do you think you'll go to the grave never seeing that one fully?
At this point, yeah.
Hell yeah.
Why would I?
I respect that.
Yeah.
Folks, thanks so much for listening in. We'll be back later on in the week with some reviews for
Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's going to be great.
Mm-hmm.
And Connor should be here with his round little head. Sorry. Love you, Connor.
Get well soon.
We'll see you Thursday, Friday, sometime later in the week.